Class is in session. Let's first discuss the similarities. I brought in expert Guru Ameen and Coach Trevor. Guru Ameen, what do Masteron and Proviron have in common?
They're both DHT derivatives. They both virtually do the same thing. One's an oral, Proviron, not very faked, and one is an injectable, which is very faked. And usually Masteron ends up being test propionate, so you don't get the results that of the real pharmaceutical Masteron, as if you will with these two. Hardening, dryness, estrogen lowers estrogen retention. Those are your main things. That you're not getting any size out of this. It's all cosmetic.
All right, and Coach Trevor, what's your preference, Proviron or Masteron, and why?
Proviron's always been mine, and we did a video about it a while back. I get, even my clients and myself, I like to run it a little bit higher, but the dryness, vascularity, and the effects and freeing up testosterone, Proviron's shown every time on my lab work. And Masteron is good, but not as prominent. And like he said, this isn't often faked, but the difference between the two, when this is given the right dosage, is night and day difference. Proviron, up to 100 milligrams, I've gone up as high as 150, but I think 100 milligrams is where it's at. It's binding to spots you don't want testosterone to go to. Frees up your testosterone. It also has anti-estrogenic effects. So all these things kind of come into play in hardening you out and making you look good.
Let me add one more thing to that. Proviron is actually used in one of the things it says on the insert is that it increases male ejaculate. So people don't know this, but back in the day, this was the porn star drug. So just it does a lot of things to kind of also regulate the body, get it back. So it doesn't just quite deprive you, shrink the gonads, and like everything else does.
Yeah.
So Masteron is an injectable. And what is usually the concentration of the injectable?
Propionate is usually 100 milligrams per ml. 50 to 100, I've seen them 50. But Masteron, the NNA is 200 milligrams.
And what's the usual dosage someone would take of Proviron?
25 milligrams is how they usually come from the pharmacy. They're also produced at that. But a typical is usually about 50 milligrams, 75 max.
50 to 75 of a pill form. So I can see that it'd be much more convenient to run the pill form versus how many cc's of Masteron does someone usually do a week if it's a low concentration, 50 to 100 milligrams?
Everyone has their own, but I'd say Masteron's, more effective in the range of 450, 500 or so.
Wow, so that's between 4.5 cc's, 4.5 and 9 cc's, depending on the concentration of Masteron. This is a lot of oil that someone has to inject to get to an effective dosage versus the pills. But are the pills liver toxic?
Not as toxic as anything like D-bol. Any oral will be over time, but this one you can run a lot longer and have good liver enzymes. But you have to also remember when you're dealing with DHT, the side effects of DHT drugs too.
So if Proviron is less likely to be faked and conveniently oral and very affordable, then why would anybody do Masteron?
More sort of the mantra when Masteron did come out, it had very good effects. And actually we talked about it earlier. We just talked about
French version.
Yeah, the French version. But what's going around today is not doing the same thing like that. You actually brought it up about a certain bodybuilder having the glass look from it. And
yeah.
you talk about taking it today, it's not giving that same effect.
Right, and that was back when it was available pharmaceutical in ampules. And I mean, for some reason, I think the question you're saying, why are people using more Masteron? Because it's more available. Because Proviron is not faked as much. It's the real stuff you're usually getting, so it's not as really as available. And I think people have pushed on to everyone saying that Masteron's so good, Masteron's so good. I see people using it in the off season. They're adding it with test, and it's like you can add it with tests, but you don't really need to. It's like they're just, you have people that make it available. They want to use it for everything because they think it's like an anavar of steroids, but it's not.
I'm seeing people use both to lower SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, in order to free up more testosterone. So, but I'm noticing more stacks, including the Masteron than the Proviron.
You don't see too many people doing Proviron in the off season. I mean, it's just not something that you do. But for some reason, even though Masteron is like a hardening stuff, somehow this information, this misinformation comes out there that this is something great to take in the off season too.
Well, what about freeing up? To someone's doing a high testosterone
And like
cycle.
I said, so it does definitely come in handy for that. So you don't have to do as much testosterone. You don't, because that's where it comes in handy. So it's like adding to the test without the side effects of the test, the aromatization and all that other stuff. So in that aspect, it helps. But I wouldn't consider it something I would take in the off season. Really, I mean,
I think Aromasin would be more effective than running Masteron in your off season.
Yeah. All right, class. That is all for the discussion comparing Proviron and Masteron. Prepare for future sessions when we're going to discuss more complex topics relating around these and other bodybuilding contests and bodybuilding drugs. Be swell and swole, my class of freedom, pioneers of human evolution.